This was the critical moment in the third game of the Anand Gelfand World Chess Championships final. Here Anand had something like a minute to move and played safe with Rook c7, and the game shortly ended in a draw. But in this highly complex position, he might have had better chances if he'd tried d7. Now, of course, when you're so short of time, it's impossible to calculate these complex variations, but just for the sake of interest, I thought it might be interesting to go into more detail here. So let's have a look at black's options. Well, first of all, it's clear that if you play rook d8, this is simply winning for white. You take a second pawn, you're 2 pawns up, and rook and pawn ending. The rook's coordination has gone, white is winning. Okay, that one is ruled out. Now, rook c2. Let's take a look at this. Now, white can play rook c4. Now, there's some very nice variations after rook b2, but it's clear that black is losing this position. Let's have a look. So, rook takes pawn, and now rook c8. Of course, the threat is to get a queen. So black plays rook f2. Why rook f2? Well, if you take on g2, then you give a check and exchange rooks, and that's the end of that, and the pawn goes home. So you have to play rook f2. Now, black is threatening, well, two ways to checkmate. But here's the trick. What white has to do is to try and queen this pawn with check, and then everything's all right. So he starts with a rook e6, and this is a winning move. If the king goes backwards, now we just have to lure black onto a square where we're queening with check, and it's all over, and we can do that. And now the winning move is a rook g8, so it's quite cute, really. Whichever rook you capture, we're going to queen with check. So let's go back to this position after rook e6. What happens on king h5? Well, we can still tempt the king to a mined square with g4 check. Now, all we need to do is get the king to one of these squares on this diagonal, and it'll be check, and that's all over. And this is what happens. Pawn takes pawn, and now rook c5. And the king must come here and check, and well, even here there are a few more variations, but basically once you've got the queen, it's all over. So let's go back to this position after rook c4. So it's clear that rook b2 is losing. So how about this rook and pawn endgame? Well, I think we can't say for certain that this is winning for white, but white has excellent chances. Pawn up, and well, let's see what happens. h5 is probably the best try for black. What you're trying to do is keep attacking that rook, and so the king and rook can get at that pawn. But king c1 is good. Now, rook d6 is a mistake, because then comes rook e6 check, a typical tactic in rook and pawn endings, and the pawn goes home. So rook d4 is just about forced. Now king b2, we're going to use the king to attacking the rook to gain time to move up the board. So let's say king f6, and now rook h7. And if king g6, well, I think obviously moving back with the rook is just a draw, but this kind of position, that is a very healthy extra pawn, because the king will support this pawn, the rook can always come back to defend here, and I think this is a pretty easy win for white, actually. Okay, so instead king e6, and now I think the best move is king b3. There are alternatives, but I think king b3 is very strong. The point is that this endgame is winning for white with care. Let me just take you, there are many variations, but let me just show you one very, very sweet variation. After king c6, well, I'll take that pawn, so we're a healthy pawn up. Now if the king comes back, well, it's going to be easy. So, but what happens if black tries to trap the king on the a file? Now it's a bit tricky. Well, f4 is a good move. Okay, now let's see what happens. And now here, if you play a4, this is only a draw. Watch what happens. b6 check, and now king c6. This is a very typical method of drawing. Basically, black keeps the opposition and traps the king on the A file. And after king A7, you just follow the king down, and king A8, it's just a draw. There's nothing that white can do. Okay, let's go back. But in this position, instead of A4, you play A3 instead of A4, and that gives you a winning tempo. So, for example, B6 check here, and now it's black to play, and you win. So here, and well, you're going to play C5 and then come over and take these pawns. Or let me see, what else could you play? After A4, king C5, yeah. Okay, king B7, it's Zugzwang, white will win this position. So, okay, summing up, I think after rook C4, in this endgame, sorry, let me just return to that position. In this endgame, after rook C4 and king B2, etc., I think white has excellent winning chances. Okay, let's go back to the very start of this variation after D7, and here there is a mad idea that black can try. Rook D1 check, so the king has to come here, and now rook D2. The king, if you want to play for a win, the king has to come up, and now rook C2, threatening checkmate with rook A2. Now, I haven't been able to get to the bottom of this position, but I think white still has some winning chances here. So first of all, you have to get the king out. So okay, check, now we run. And now black's best chance is to take this pawn. And now here, I think what white should do is run with the king towards the D pawn. And what you're going to try to do, at the moment you can't actually queen, because if you queen then there's a check, and then the rook takes. But I think what white should do is try to run the king via D8 to E8 where it's safe, and then attempt to queen the pawn. And on the way you can even try to checkmate black's king. Okay, it's completely mad. And F4, the idea is to actually trap in black's king. So let me show you. Okay, these might not be the best moves, so I just want to try to show you some of the ideas. Here's the idea. So what you're going to do is bring this rook round and in here and attempt to attack black's king. Another idea is to play rook here, try to exchange off rooks, and in that way gain a tempo. And another idea is to bring the rook all the way around here to C8 to get a queen. I think white still has winning chances here. That's my feeling. Oh, another way is to attack the king with rook E6 check, force the king back here, and then take here and go for a checkmating attack. It's incredibly complex. Oh, and even another way is to play king F8 and then rook E6 check. Mad variations, and I repeat, I completely understand why Vishy Anand didn't go in for D7, because you know, if you get these calculations wrong you could end up actually losing this position. So I can understand why he didn't want to risk positions where he couldn't actually determine what was going on. You know, it's easy for these positions to flip round. But anyway, great fun, and I think this match is really coming to life.